Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to Proverbs with Paul in the afternoon, this rather sunny afternoon. A little bit cold though. Proverbs chapter 3, and today we're looking at verse 28. Do not say to your neighbour, go and come back, and tomorrow I will give it when you have it with you. So, do not say to your neighbour. So who is your neighbour? Your neighbour is anyone. Perhaps it's those who live close to you at one level, but the reality is your neighbour is anyone. Everyone who lives on the earth is your neighbour. And we see the word neighbour used many times in Scripture. And the reality is everyone is your neighbour. Anyone who connects to you, that's your neighbour. Solomon says, if your neighbour comes to you and in effect makes the request of you with regards to what is actually his, either because you owe it to him or because maybe you've borrowed it from him, and it's within your possession, and then you say to your neighbour, I know you're here and I know I have it to give you, but I'm not going to give it to you. Come back tomorrow and then I'll give it to you. Solomon is saying, don't treat your neighbour in that kind of way because it's wrong. If it's in your possession and you are able to make whatever it is your neighbour's available to your neighbour, then make it available. Give it to your neighbour. Don't withhold from your neighbour, because it's important to realise that one day you may well have to approach your neighbour and say, I need of you. And there's a sense in which making that gesture of generosity, of that sense of freedom, that sense of blessing to people that we interact with, is essential if we're going to create a community that's worth living in. Sometimes people say to me, do you feed the food bank people for how long? And most food banks have a limited amount of time. But we choose not to. And the reason for that is because we want to be generous. And we even want to be more than generous. We want to make available to our neighbour, that's anyone who has need, what we have provision to give them in that need. And that's so important because it brings well-being both to your neighbour and to your own heart as well. Jesus once said this, if you want to take hold of life, don't try and hold on to it, give it away. And I have found in my life that the most happiest people that you'll ever meet are the most generous people. Thank you for joining me. Be blessed. Have a great afternoon, and I'll see you tomorrow.